Greetings and welcome to Mount Vernon Unitarian Church as we celebrate Partner Church Sunday. I am Lisa Blair, chair of our Partner Church Committee. Today we will experience International Unitarian Universalism in the Philippines with our guest speaker, the Reverend Tet Gallardo. I'll be sharing more in the service later about Reverend Tet and how Unitarian Universalism came to be in the Philippines. Whether this is your first time with us or your 1000th and first, know that you are welcome here and that we are glad to have you. We are glad that we can provide this forum to find comfort and recommit ourselves to the mission of supporting one another in our spiritual journeys, working for justice, caring for the earth, and building the common good. We gather to recommit ourselves to dismantling systems of oppression and injustice. It is good to be together. Please continue to look to your emails, phones, and the website for continued updates about worship and other church happenings as we continue to monitor the pandemic and decide what is the safest way for us to worship. And please know, if you are ever in need, we are here for you. I invite you now to enter into this time of worship.
My wife Roberta and I are relatively new members of MVUC, having joined in 2019 when we moved back to Northern Virginia to be near our grandchildren, which has been a blessing, especially in these times of isolation. And we are also blessed to have found this wonderful UU community that is Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. We're both passionate UUs. Many of you may know that Roberta is a semi-retired UU minister, and I'm a UU stewardship consultant. And while we've not been here long, we've both jumped right into many activities. I play with the Windmill Jazz Collective and have been helping out with planning for multi-platform and stewardship. And Roberta has co-led the effort to sponsor our Afghan refugee family. We've both been very active in our neighborhood covenant group, which has brought us deeper connections and much personal growth. And I'm now working with Ann Richards to develop a General Assembly workshop on families and stewardship. Hope many of you will get a chance to watch that. Now, I'd like to talk to you a bit about our pledge to the annual budget drive and how we thought about it. We like to think about our financial commitments to the church in terms of opportunity and investment, thinking about increasing the impact of Unitarian Universalism in our personal lives, our church community, and the wider world. And I see the present moment as one of great promise and great opportunity. First, I'm really excited about multi-platform and its potential to engage many more people in our faith, widening the circle of engagement and reach. Doing this well will require continued investment in technology and technical support. Second, ministerial transition is also a time of opportunity, a chance to envision a great future for the church and the minister who will help guide us toward that future. And spirited pledging is one way to demonstrate to minister candidates that we are passionate supporters of this church and that the church is a place that the minister would want to be a part of. Now, multi-platform and ministerial transition, as well as all the other wonderful things we've got going at MVUC, whether it's social justice, faith development, or just the wonderful Sunday worship services, all of these things inspired us to dig deep this year. Now, last year we pledged $5,000, and we decided to increase that by 20% for the coming year. Now, I invite you to consider what inspires you about MVUC when you make your pledge. It is, after all, our pledges that provide the lion's share of our annual budget and make possible everything we love about MVUC. Remember that we are a covenantal community and we're all in this together, and it's our pledges that make it all happen. So I hope that you will join Roberta and me in giving as generously and as joyfully as you can.
Bringing Us Home to Love by Frances Cozier. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community.
Would you join us in singing number 134, Our World is One World? Can be found in your hymnal, on your screen, or in your orders of service. Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affects us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate, we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
I invite you now as we unite our voices to speak aloud the covenant of our community. These words are both known within our hearts and are displayed upon your screen. Love is the teaching of this church. The quest of truth is its daily task, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve life in community, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. This is our covenant with each and with all.
So, did you ever ask yourself why we put our palms together in prayer? This is common practice in many of the world's religions. And they said it's so we could remember what it's like to hold the lotus between them. So, anyway, the story goes that in ancient times, people were so connected to nature and God that back then people had no need of anything. So they didn't know how to ask or to even pray. Everything was provided for. And God said, I put in your presence a symbol of my everlasting love, the lotus. the lotus flower. It grows on mud to help you remember the good there is on earth when you see the dirt. By putting your palms together, you will remember. Generations have passed. Mothers gave birth to daughters, who gave birth to daughters, who gave birth to daughters, and people began to forget why they put their palms together. People have forgotten the good there is on earth, even when they see the dirt. They can't remember. They put their palms together only as an empty habit. They had slowly forgotten how blessed they were. Soon they forgot to be thankful. Soon they forgot the work of keeping the blessings. They forgot to take care of the earth. So then the blessings soon rotted, the friendships rotted, and their minds grew weary with sadness and gloom. And friends had stopped visiting each other, and people only knew fighting. The story of the rotting planet reached the ears of Maya and Sita, and they feared for their last lotus. They suddenly knew the fear of losing something that might never return. So Sita soon grew very sick, and as sick as the forgotten earth, as the dirt made no mud and the mud made no lotus. Sita grew sick from her own despair, and as she lay in bed waiting for death, Sita begged Maya, "Do not ever forget the time of plenty, the time of no need, and pray for its return. Put your palms together to remember the time of the lotus, and I will be with you." And she died. The lotus, the lotus. Maya had even forgotten what it looked like. It's been too long since she last saw one. She was just a child, and now she herself was getting old. Maya kept to her word and began to put her palms together every day in the morning and evening to remember, to remember, to remember how it was to feel a lotus between her palms, meditating on life and the season of plenty. To remember a time that people still knew how to receive grace with humility and care for the earth when they cared for each other. One day, Maya saw vines had begun to grow around the pond. Maya had hoped they were the return of the lotuses, but no. So Maya kept to her promise, palms together day and night, day and night. But her mind grew weary and had forgotten why again she was putting her palms together. She only did it to remember Sita, but she had forgotten to think of the lotus, the blessings, and the gifts. One day there was a bud in the pond, but her mind's eye has been blinded by her faithlessness. She almost got the very bud of the lotus that she was supposed to be praying for. So she put her palms together once more to feel the gift that was once theirs, their very connection to the divine, the lotus in the mud. And lo and behold, when she opened her eyes, she suddenly recognized the bud. And it had no resemblance to the lotus she's been praying for. But as she had hoped it would grow into a lotus, she didn't cut the bud. So soon lotus flowers bloomed once more, and lotus flowers bloomed and died as flowers do. And so long as there was mud, they could grow. No mud, no lotus. Even now, Maya doesn't forget to meditate on what is here and not forgotten. To remember what isn't missing, to be mindful, to care for the buds, no matter how small, to nurture what is given, no matter how long it takes for them to bloom, and to care for the world, to care that the world is ready for the lotuses.
Mount Vernon Unitarian Church continues to share the plate with committed organizations that you, our members, have chosen. During the month of March, our offering is being shared with MVUC's partner churches in Transylvania and India. Along with our spiritual and community support, our partners benefit from our financial gifts to further Unitarian Universalists in these sacred places in the world. We are a community that invites spiritual and material generosity from our members and friends. I give to support my spiritual community and the social justice causes to which we are committed. I invite this gathered community to offer whatever you are most comfortable with in spirit and financial generosity for the mission of our church community. If you'd like to write and mail a check for the offering, please make it to MVUC and in the memo line indicate how you'd like it to be used. You can also follow the link in the chat box to make a one-time or recurring payment. We are so grateful for your donation.
Beloved Community, a credo by the Reverend Eric Cherry, a longtime member of the Partner Church movement of the Unitarian Church. I believe in original sin, in the sense that human sinning has no lack of originality, and that it is entrenched in institutions and systems. I believe in original blessing, too, and the power of creativity, which builds and strengthens goodness, beauty, harmony, and recovery, and the potential for more. I believe suffering from sin is inescapable for the sinner, and most people experience this in larger measure than appearances suggest. I believe suffering inflicted upon others by sin is evil incarnate. I believe responsibility for the pain, injury, and trauma inflicted on others by sins committed and by culpability requires more spiritual attention and accountability than is commonly given. I believe in universal salvation, not because a peaceful eternity is easily earned or deserved, but because God's love is at work, and that's strong. I believe in grace. I believe that grace requires honest confession. I believe that everyone, yes, everyone, needs more confession and grace. I believe in prayer. I believe in the power of penitential prayer. I believe in the power of righteously angry prayer. I believe that prayer changes people, or it isn't prayer at all. I believe in absolution in the same way that I believe in reconciliation, forgiveness, and mercy. I believe absolution requires hard work, the journey of a lifetime. I believe the past is not changed through absolution, only the future, sometimes the generation to come. And I believe being an obstacle or diversion to someone's absolution path counters God's work and love. I believe in beloved community, and not just eschatologically, but I don't believe the moral arc of the universe bends toward justice, the peaceable kingdom, or beloved community, though I would like to. I hope someday I will. Instead, I believe the curve of the moral arc of the universe is shaped and reshaped by original sin, original blessing, confession, grace, prayer, penitence, and absolution. I believe religious communities and their sacred places can be reformed so that they remain sanctuaries, though too often of privilege, but also convents for the blessing and absolution path for all. And I believe this is one way in which beloved community becomes.
Would you turn in your gray hymnals, please, to number 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
So over the years, we've learned about Unitarians in various parts of the world, especially about our partners in Transylvania and the Khasi Hills of India. But did you know that there are also Unitarians in the Philippines? The UU Church of the Philippines was founded by Reverend Toribio Quimada, who was born in 1917, the second of 13 children in a Roman Catholic family. Quimada was determined to read the Bible as a young adult, which was discouraged at the time in Catholicism. This inspired him to attend and then teach Protestant Sunday school, leading to his ordination at the time in Iglesia Universal in 1948. Quimada was geographically isolated, serving several small congregations on Negros Island with few resources. Looking for support for his ministry, he turned to an international church directory looking for Universal and stumbled across the Universalist Church of Gloucester, Massachusetts, the oldest Universalist church in the United States, and he reached out. The Gloucester congregation connected him with the Universalist Service Committee, and they began sending church materials that Quimada incorporated into his Christian education program. This so incensed the leadership of the Iglesia Universal that in 1954, Quimada was expelled from his ordained ministry. In response, he founded the Universalist Church of the Philippines, UCP, and several hundred members of his former congregations joined him. Quimada built an enduring relationship with the broader Universalist and Unitarian world. In 1972, the UCP was accepted as a member of IARF, the International Association for Religious Freedom. And in 1984, it presented Quimada with its prestigious Albert Schweitzer Award for Distinguished Service to the cause of liberal religion. In 1985, the UCP changed its name to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Philippines and vigorously pursued affiliation with the Unitarian Universalist Association. In 1988, the UUA officially accepted the UUCP into membership. Tragically, Quimada did not live to witness this historic event. Just weeks before he was to fly to the General Assembly, Kimata was murdered in his home by a right-wing paramilitary group. He was shot and his body was burned along with the UUCP records, hymn books, and worship materials, which he was killed trying to protect. Today, the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Philippines is a group of 20 UU congregations and 5 fellowships, largely made up of farming families. It has had 2 women presidents, including Reverend Ted Gallardo, who is speaking today, and she is the first out lesbian minister in Asia. Her ministry has been focused on climate action, democratic governance, and leadership development. She was the Balach Scholar at Star King's School for the Ministry in 2016 to 17 and has been a social justice worker since her teens as part of the bloodless people power revolution that toppled the dictator Ferdinand Marcos in 1986. Since then, she's supported 40 NGOs with different advocacies for the environment, women, reproductive rights, farmers, and other social justice work in Nepal, Burundi, Myanmar, East Timor, Hong Kong, and Standing Rock. She's been involved in many initiatives bringing Unitarians from different countries together and people of different faiths from different parts of the world. Reverend Tet describes the UUCP as the most liberal religion in a country in which 85% are Roman Catholics, and you can still get imprisoned for offending religious feelings. The Philippines and the Vatican City are the only places on earth where there's no divorce. Welcome, Reverend Ted.
Hello, dear friends. I'm so happy to be here with you, even if only virtually. At this very moment, I will also be at the UU congregation of Franklin, New Hampshire, talking about Women's Day. I will try to join you for coffee hour. What a time we live in. What a time of truth-telling and disinformation. What a time of tribulation and hopeful discoveries. What a time of making community and breaking community. If we don't do enough, we could be the last generation who will ever inherit the earth. But if we do turn things around, we could redefine the way the earth is dwelled in. What a great test and what a great opportunity is set before us. I can't help but think of the wars raging in the planet at this very moment, being waged all over the world. You may think that it's pretty obvious who the bad guys are. It's the one who shoots first, right? But there are many ways of waging wars against nations, ethnicities, sexes, genders, and classes of people, and many of these wars are insidiously done with full legal blessings of the well-established classes and legitimate authorities. As I record this message, it is International Women's Day, a time that women all over the world bring special attention to the inequalities they face on a daily basis, having to withstand patriarchy, toxic masculinity, and a whole cultural, economic, and social system geared to punish women's power, individuality, and presence. Societies seem to be at war with their own women. It is also a season of Lent, a time Christians think of Christ's persecution under the hands of rightful authorities of his time. And wow, it seems the powerful haven't learned their lessons, and the powerless still give power to the hateful. There's just so much going on. I can't help but ask, in what world does love win? When do we say it wins? Should I look to our 6 sources of living tradition for answers, I wouldn't find the answer I'm looking for. Our traditions, our history, and our stories per se are rich with gaps, absences, silences, and a lot of complicity that have created all of these sufferings we now face as humanity. As you all know, I'm Asian and a Filipino by citizenship, a Filipina by gender. I'm not a hyphenated American. I've never experienced being a minority in my own country, but I've experienced times I've had to defend my defend my own right to be in my own country to some Americans who call themselves expats. Some of them own exclusive resorts in which Filipinos are absolutely not allowed. These so called expats are, in fact, immigrants, refugees escaping their corporate capitalistic economies. They're going to live the rest of their lives and die here in the Philippines. They number in the hundreds of thousands. Some of them build their kingdoms in the Philippines, bringing in their retirement money. Nothing wrong with that, but some of them come looking to marry the most subservient Filipina they can find because they are hopelessly looking for care and love if they're lucky. Marrying Filipinas allows them legal right to own land in our paradise. Our constitution prohibits the ownership of land by foreigners. I think about the wars they are running from, these expats. A number of them are so broke they have to loan from other Americans here. One of them is a man we shall name Dave to hide his identity, who has a pregnant Filipino wife, although he's hardly able to pay rent, and she's the one who is earning for both of them. He is 70 and his wife, we shall call Daisy, is 24. I've seen the string of lovers Dave has had who have swindled him of sums of money. Filipinas looking for quick buck. And now Dave's finally found the one, but he's broke and probably also broken. I think about the other refugees in many parts of the world who have it worse. You could say, in the case of Dave, love won, wouldn't you? Just having Dave and Daisy's situation to illustrate my point is anecdotal. I can't call it actual research, but it's also proverbial. It is telling of how America has created a culture that could not provide safety nets to citizens like Dave, who used to be a successful business owner, whose own aging wife, though, back in the US, took all of his retirement money, leaving him with nothing. So Dave went to the Philippines to retire, as many do. He lives here in one of the bottom poorest cities in the country. This is where I am at the moment, to serve the national office of UUs here. And when I say this place is poor, it only means that the cost of living is around $500 a month for a couple. It also has one of the lowest crime rates in the country. It is known as a campus town of one of the top universities here, with a hipster ambience like Berkeley. It's a Bay Area where you can go island hopping to the great island towns. Many folks are fishing as a major source of living. It is one of the top retirement destinations. And here's where Dave found love, when he was simply looking to escape or have a good time. There was one time Dave had to be bailed out of prison for a violent altercation with an aggressive neighbor, but that's another story. Dave is slowly being nursed back to his own humanity with all the love and support the couple is getting from their neighbors, from Daisy's family and friends, and their cats. Dave's friends have also seen his remarkable change in character from a restless happy-go-lucky to responsible immigrant. There's also the British man Steve who came here to come out gay at age 80. He then found a boyfriend, a young Filipino around age 30. They married in the UK and came back. Steve depended very much on his now husband of 5 years for his care and safety, especially to survive the pandemic. You could say Steve found love in the most marginalized of places. I've examined their stories over and over, and the stories of many others who come here and stumble upon the UU Church. One of these immigrants is now a reverend, a minister of another LGBT-friendly church, long coupled to a Filipino. One of them, another story is about an immigrant who put his poor wife through master's and PhD, and she's now living in the US after he died. Filipinos also love to migrate all over the world. There's one Filipino in every two Filipino families. There's always one who works abroad, not just as nurse or teacher, but originally Filipinos worked as engineers, technical laborers, and seafarers. That Filipinos have long worked as UN peacekeepers, chefs, scientists, doctors, and researchers in the most esteemed institutions in the world. Whenever I go around the world and I say, I'm Filipino, I instantly am met with so much welcome. Hey, I know a Filipino, is the usual reaction. Then they would tell me stories like, this Filipino who cooked for the whole hostel in Morocco, this Filipino who gave them the best care in a hotel in Dubai, this Filipino family who adopted them when they were lost in Ireland. So I say, I'm very familiar with the world in which love wins. I come from this world. It's a fearless world of welcome, not perfectionism or a world of storybook romances. It's a world where refugees find a place to thrive. The Philippines has taken in more than 500,000 refugees during the Vietnam War. We have taken in Russians who were escaping the Bolshevik Revolution, and now we are welcoming Ukrainians. We have taken in Jews escaping the Holocaust, as many as Schindler's List. In fact, there's a Hollywood movie produced with the title Quezon's Game about our president who did that. Some of you might know Thich Nhat Hanh. He famously passed away a month ago after years of leading Plum Village, a Zen Buddhist monastery in France. He was nominated by Martin Luther King for a Nobel Peace Prize. I have been his follower for decades. When a bunch of us tried to start his Zen practice in the Philippines, we asked for a monastic to come from Hong Kong and get to know us. It was one of Thich Nhat Hanh's monastics. His name was Brother Papkam, and he was so interested to usher us into becoming an established group. As it turns out, he was but a boy on a boat when he first came to the Philippines as one of the refugees of Vietnam. Because of him, we named our group the Boat of Compassion. Because of our kindness to him, the seed of compassion has been planted, and now he has come back to the Philippines to again sow, and so that we can reap once more. This Zen practice has helped me bear the stresses of the last 2 years, including the death of my mother from COVID. Again, here's a place where love wins. We may have crazy politicians and greedy oligarchs, and wars may rage on around us, but we carry on in our work of justice within these realms or spaces in which we can assert the work of justice with kindness. In so doing, there is hope. Where there is hope, there shall always be workers for justice. We work because we hope because we work. We hope because we can still remember a world within us in which we felt loved, saved, or nurtured. If love can win in that world within, it can win in this world around us. If we just continue cultivating the seeds until they spring forth the buds, and we water them, no matter how they look far from the look that we are looking for, from the ideals. We don't cut the buds, we cultivate them. And this is how we slowly inch towards a world that insists on kindness. And that's the world in which love wins.
Would you join me in singing number 1074? 1074, Turn the World Around. Words can be found in your hymnal, on the screen, or in your orders of service. go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do you know who you are? See one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do you know who you are? See each one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Oh, so is life a body war. So is life. Oh, so is life a body war. So is life. Water make the river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Bodies of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the spirit, truly of the spirit, only can the spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life a body war. So is life. Oh, so is life a body war. So is life. Oh, so is life a body war. So is life. Oh, so is life a body war. So is life. Yeah.
Please join together as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
As we move through this beautiful and troubled world, may we vow to be a beacon of peace, a fearless carrier of respect and loving kindness for all life, a teller of truth, a voice for justice, a protector of those who are vulnerable or targeted. May the power of wisdom, integrity, and compassion be our guide. These words from Jack Cornfield. May it be so.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, and clouds of white, the bright blessed days, the dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in babies saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself,